The greatest charge of a government is to protect the health and safety and welfare of its citizens. And that's what this case was. It was a civil enforcement action.
This was a case involving the manufacturers of a drug that was supposed to protect people who had previously suffered a heart attack or a stroke or suffered from what's known as peripheral artery disease. Patients were constantly being given Plavix in order to treat cardiac conditions. It became a blockbuster drug. The defendants made billions on it, and all by denying the public, patients, and doctors the information that they needed in order to realize that Plavix might not be working for them at all.
It was either not effective or less effective for a significant portion of the population in Hawaii, mainly East Asians and Pacific Islanders.
Ultimately, it was determined to be a genetic variation in the patient's liver enzymes.
When you think about it, it's insanity that a drug company would know this serious limitation of a drug on a significant portion of the population and hide it from public view. When I questioned a lot of these witnesses, these expert doctors during the case, they acknowledged that they had a lot of patients on Plavix and that a number of those patients didn't survive. They had a recurrent heart attack or stroke. And they had to admit to me that they didn't know whether these folks had a recurrent heart attack or stroke because they weren't receiving sufficient benefit from the drug that they thought they would have.
I became involved because the Hawaii Attorney General was very interested in this genetic issue and its impact on the people of Hawaii.
We were designated as special, I think, deputy attorney generals for the state of Hawaii. When I told the judge from the beginning of this case is that you're not going to have to trust me. You're just going to have to trust your own eyes. You won't even have to trust the witnesses coming in because it's what they wrote down.
Through the course of discovery, we found a multitude of documents that showed that the defendants were actually scheming for ways to undermine anything that suggested that there was a problem with Plavix.
These internal documents showed, whether it was marketing or sales, that was their highest priority.
One of the defendants was Bristol-Myers Squibb, BMS. The other group was three U.S. subsidiaries of a French company called Sanofi.
With all the lawyers that were involved, and there were a lot of lawyers involved in the case, we were just surprised how we were able, in my view, to steamroll them during the trial. And so, from our viewpoint, the liability case became much easier. The issue was going to be how much the court was going to award for each violation.
And what the judge did is he awarded $500 per violation against BMS and $500 per violation jointly and severally against the three Sanofi defendants, for a total of $1,000 per violation, which adds up to $834 million.
These pharmaceutical companies are printing money. I mean, they're making a lot of money, and they could take a lot of hits. But at some point, it's going to affect them. And so what I'm hoping is that through these actions, through these cases, through these trials, that these pharmaceutical companies are going to wake up and say, we can't do this.
I appreciate the fact that, organizations like Public Justice get the word out about cases like this.
I think public justice has done a lot of good in that regard, holding companies accountable and changing behavior, which I think that's what it's all about.